Kamala Harris, one of America's top cops, who was a cop for a long time in her own right as an attorney general and as a prosecutor in California, she went on The View and she talked about this idea of defunding the police departments. Defund the police. I'm sure you've heard this hashtag. Here goes a clip of Kamala Harris talking to Meghan McCain on The View. Check this out.
Are calling for a defunding of the police. The Minneapolis City Council just agreed on a bill on this. Right before I came to tape the show, there was a clip on CNN from a Minneapolis City Councilwoman who said, quote, "It's a place of privilege if someone breaking into your home wants to call the police." This is gaining a lot of steam. Nancy Pelosi this morning just refused to answer if she would support defunding the police. I just want to know from you, do you support defunding and removing police from American communities? And if not, why do you think there's such a hard time being differentiated right now between defunding and reforming police departments?
So, Megan, I think that a big part of this conversation really is about reimagining how we do public safety in America, which I support, which is this. We have confused the idea that to achieve safety, you put more cops on the street, instead of understanding to achieve safe and healthy communities, you put more resources into the public education system of those communities, into affordable housing, into home ownership, into access to capital for small businesses, access to health care regardless of how much money people have. That's how you achieve safe and healthy communities. And so we really do need to understand and reimagine what and how we can actually make and help make communities safe. Because here's the bottom line. If you contrast, many communities which have a heavy presence of police to middle and upper middle class suburbs in America, you will not see that presence of police. But what you will see families who have an income that allows them to get through the end of the month. You will see good public schools. You will see people who have access to health care and can afford it. You will see people who have jobs. And so this has to be the conversation, which is how are we going to be smart in achieving what should be our collective goal, which is that all communities are safe, and knowing that safe communities are usually safe because they are healthy because of a number of things, including the economy, including education, including access to health care. And that's how I think about this. In many cities in America, over 1/3 of their city budget goes to police. So we have to have this conversation. What are we doing? What about the money going to social services? What about the money going to helping people with job training? What about helping with the mental health issues that communities are being plagued with, for which we're putting no resources? And here's the other thing. When I talk to law enforcement, they know that they don't want to be, nor are they skilled to be the ones who are responding to someone with mental illness or substance abuse or the homeless population. But in many cities, that's what's happening, because we are not directing those resources, those public resources, to where they need to go, which is addressing mental health, homelessness, substance abuse, so that we don't have to have a police response because we are smarter.
Senator, I hear you loud and clear, and I don't think there's any rational American right now who doesn't think that we need to take a cold, hard look at reforming our police. But there was a video that went viral over the weekend of the mayor of Minneapolis being yelled at, saying, yes or no question, are you for defunding the police? So I'm going to ask the same question the protesters asked him. Are you for defunding the police?
How are you defining defund the police?
Well, I'm not for anything remotely for that, so I would ask the protesters the same thing. But I assume and again, this is something that is new to me, I assume it's removing police, and as Congresswoman Ilhan Omar said, bringing in a whole new way of governing and a law and order into a community. And my understanding, again, this is something that has just come into my understanding recently, is that you would not have police officers, like this Minneapolis City Councilwoman said, that I would be a place of privilege if someone broke into my home and I wanted to call the police.
So, again, we need to reimagine how we are achieving public safety.
All right. Jesus. Long answers that don't get to the point of the matter, okay? And same thing, the clip is longer and they just go in a circle. Kamala basically repeats what she said earlier. Meghan repeats her problems with it and the same exact talking points. So I don't know why the segment was so freaking long. The bottom line is this. Meghan McCain doesn't want to understand because she doesn't want to understand. That's why she doesn't understand. That's why she kept saying, I don't understand, because you don't want to understand. I'm going to say this. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, defund the police is not a winning slogan. It's not a winning slogan. It should have been called something else. People are not going to get it. We need a new police, a new way of policing. I like that better. A new policing for the new age. We need to recreate policing. We need to restructure policing. I mean, all of these words sound better. Because what you got to remember is a lot of Americans are police. And a lot of Americans have family members that are police. And the way you feel about police is not necessarily the way they feel about police. How can we win if we don't understand the mentality of the people that we want to bring on board on the idea? So maybe we shouldn't call it defund the police. It feels good to say it at a rally, but saying it that way does not penetrate the thick skulls of people who don't understand what the hell you're talking about. I think it could be better articulated. Like we want to restructure policing. I mean, I said this yesterday. Maybe Kamala's watching the Tim Black show. I said, in my view, we have police doing way too many damn jobs. We need to make policing more of an elite position. We need to have different levels of policing, different types of policing. And I guess the idea is that we want to call it something else. I'm cool with that, but you better articulate it and come up with a branding message. Right now, what we have is a policeman can be called to do all types of different shit and never know what it's going to be. From a domestic violence call of a man beating the hell out of his wife, to a domestic violence call, somebody put their husband in the freezer, to an ongoing present shooting, shots fired in the middle of the street, to my kitty is trapped in a tree. We got cops doing too many jobs they're not equipped to do. We need to break it down into categories and develop new organizations or new names and new titles and new designations. And not all of those positions require guns. You should not have a gun if you're a healthcare worker to go do a wellness check on somebody with a pre-existing medical condition. Okay? Cops should not have to show up to Jimmy's door when Jimmy's off his medication and they know Jimmy's on medication. They don't have the temperament for it. They don't have the training for it. And this is going to turn in not to a wellness check, but into a shootiness check. But a lot of the shootings that occur every year, large percentage of those are people that are they have mental conditions, they need to be treated a certain way, and those officers just didn't do their job in the way that you would expect a healthcare professional to do the job. And maybe healthcare professionals should be doing the job instead of cops doing the job. That's all I'm saying. So that would cut the budget. It would still be going to public services, fulfilling those needs, but it wouldn't go to a police department. It would go to another department, like a wellness department. I mean, these are ideas we've been talking about for years. I've had cops on my show talking about this shit. This is not new. Which brings me to another point. Kamala Harris, this is not a new phenomenon. Where were these great ideas back when the Democrats had power? Where were these great ideas for cutting this 1/3 of the budget? Hey, don't tell me that the 1/3 of the budget, these local municipalities, all of a sudden now that's going to police. That's been going to the police all this damn time. So, in essence, your argument for reforming the police has always been there. What you didn't have was the will. Or better yet, what you didn't have was Donald Trump to run against. And you want a reason or a way to defeat Donald Trump. And the only problem with that is this. I don't know if the Democratic Party actually has a stomach for going through with this. Right now, Nancy Pelosi can't explain exactly what she's trying to do. She won't even answer when asked, do you support defund the police? She's the Speaker of the House, one of the most powerful women in the world. And she can't explain her position on a hot topic like defund the police. She should at least be able to articulate it as well as a guy with a mic on a YouTube channel. That is disgusting and it's a shameful display. And you can't call that shit leadership. If you take emotion out of it, for all you butthurt cops and cop supporters out there, you have to recognize that this shit ain't working. We had the same problems. We go back 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, we're still having the same problems. I've looked at news clippings from the 50s where black people were making the same complaints that they're making now. And the same white people that said they didn't get it then still don't get it now. Before, we called them bigots, and the people doing it now, we call them bigots too. But what's changed? So, right now, we got a movement in place. It's on the verge of being turned into something that it's not. I think we need to put our heels, dig our heels in, continue to make these protests loud and effective. But what we also need to do is be more strategic about what we really want. And if we want police reform, and to stop just dumping money into policing, and we want to break up the police, stop letting them monopolize the situation. Stop monopolizing our communities. And we want to make sure that those people, those police officers who should have guns and should be attending to high-risk situations, those should be our elite officers. Those officers should not get paid the same as officer write a ticket or officer hands out a parking violation. These should be different cops. We should have special training for special cops. And those cops get paid more, but they are considered more elite, and they have more closer scrutiny. And then we have other cops who do less drastic jobs, less risky portions of jobs of policing. And I hope that makes sense, but that's my theory of the way that we deal with policing. Right now, we're taking young men and women who haven't had the proper training and throwing them into situations after a quick boot camp in a culture that's rancid. We have to change it. We must fix it. And I don't much give a fuck what McCain thinks, Meghan McCain thinks, or any of her people, because I know a lot of them are just playing to their audience. The only audience we care about right now are civilians that are getting hurt. That should be the primary audience. Everybody else is secondary, including politicians, including politics, including your Republican or your Democratic name tag. What's important is that we get this right. If it's left to these people who want to maintain status quo, we will have the same problems 100 years from now. If it is left to these people who are happy with status quo, we will have the same problem 100 years from now. And that isn't fucking good enough. We have to do better. Your great-grandkids should not be still complaining about cops being too fucking forceful. My great-grandkids shouldn't in the year 2055 still be worried about and scared when they get pulled over by a police officer. It has to change. Is it for 300 years enough of the same shit? How would you like to fix it, Meghan? Well, you know what? Bob may have to get a new job. Isn't that what you tell the coal miners? Isn't that what you tell all the people whose factories shut down and they had to look for new work? Well, you know what? Some of these cops who are on the booze, that are on the sauce too fucking hard, who smack their women instead of talk to them, who haven't made love to their woman because they're too busy beating up their women, we know you. We know the stats. Some of them are not going to be employed any longer. And we also need to start some health evaluation of cops. Cops need to have their heads examined. Some of them ain't built to do this job. Like I said, they're not equipped for the job. They should have another job. Doesn't mean they can't be in law enforcement, but they don't need to be officer, show up, roll up to the hood, and don't know what the hell is going on, and shoot first and ask questions later. That's not the cop we need. And we also don't need, I'm scared, I'm going to piss myself, well, let me just shoot this guy because I don't know what else to do. That guy got to go too. I mean, at some point, man, we got to decide if we want to actually be a society that gives a fuck about one another, or if we just want to make money, and if we just want our friends to make money, and we want to be co-opted by special interest groups, because that's what's happening right now. Damn it, if only poor people and people of modest means, ever working people, whatever you want to call it, people that who don't have millions socked away in trust funds, who don't have $50,000 refrigerators with gourmet ice cream in them, people who can't afford to just go party with Richard Branson or whatever the hell, Virgin, owning the Virgin airplane, or to just be able to go to the Bahamas when they want. I mean, if one day, if we ever got together and decided that we were tired of shit, I mean really tired, maybe something would change. Maybe if the redneck bastards who think what they want to do is police themselves as if they aren't already doing that, that's the problem, part of the problem. But if those people ever smarten up and realize we ain't the ones fucking you, that's from up here, and we ain't up here, then maybe we could actually reform some of this shit. But until then, lock their asses up, throw away the key, I don't want to hear it, break the law, lose your fucking job, lose your badge, go to jail. If the news you watch makes you more confused after you watch it, watch the Tim Black Show and know what's going on. Go to patreon.com, Tim's Take Live. Join today.